Welcome to the Intelligent Tax Solution webinar series with Angela Floyd. Angela Floyd is an award-winning speaker and coach dedicated to raising awareness of financial and tax implications and its impact on our lives. She is a partner of the prestigious income tax and accounting firm, Intelligent Tax Solution. And now, here's Angela Floyd.
Hello, I'm Angela Floyd. I'm so glad to just give you a brief overview today of you've gotten the SBA money. Now you need to figure out what to do with it so that you're in compliance. So I'm going to tell you today how to stay out of jail and ensure compliance once you get your money. And I'm going to just be talking today about basics of the SBA loan, the EDIL loan, and the PPP loan. What you need to do to ensure you are compliant so that some of that money may be forgivable where you need to go. So, welcome. My name is Angela Floyd. I'm CEO of Intelligent Tax. And our objective today is just to talk about the allowable uses of the money, what you cannot use the money for, and then we'll just talk about next steps, our part 2 of this, and then just closing. All right, so what can you use the money for? You may have gotten $50,000, $100,000, $200,000, or just $10,000. But you're wondering, what can I use this money for? So the first thing you're going to want to do is once you get that money, you're going to want to move it to a bank account separate from your normal bank account. This is a very important point. Move it to a bank account separate from your normal bank account. So call your bank, ask them to open another account, or if you have an account you aren't using, move it to that account so that you will know specifically what you're using that money for. All right, so you can use it for working capital. Okay, the importance of this is you can use it for working capital for any expenses incurred for business only, not personal, after January 31st. So if you have a profit and loss statement, any expenses you would have normally incurred as of February 1st onward, you can use this money for that. Okay, so I hope that's clear. And we're going to move on to our next slide, which talks about what you can't use it for. All right, so just to reiterate on the previous slide where we were talking about working capital, the reason for the loans, there are 2 types of loans out there. There's the EDIL loan, which basically is about 9.5 months of operating costs. That's about what your loan approval may have been for. And then there's the PPP loan, which is about 2.5 months of operating or income that you would have gotten if you were open. So that's why the loans are vastly different as far as the amount that's approved. However, you still have to verify what you use the loans for. So the forgivable portion is not automatically forgiven. You have to provide receipts or proof of what you used it for at a later date. So that's why it's very important that you use it for things that are allowable. And so the things you can't use it for are, we're going to go into it here. So the first thing, payment of dividends or bonuses. You cannot use this for people who may have been an S Corp or you're a partnership and you just receive $100,000 and you say, okay, it's for owners, everybody gets $25,000. That's not how it works. It's used for payroll and or operating expenses. It's not used to fatten the owner's pockets. Okay, so you're going to want to look at your profit and loss statement and look at what you usually spend the money on. And that'll kind of give you a good idea of what's allowable, because it's usually operating expenses. So you can't use it to disperse money to owners, partners, officers, or directors when directly related to performance, unless it's related to performance of services. So if you have an officer who is operating the business daily, and they previously were compensated for day-to-day operations, it's okay to reimburse them out of this money, because again, it is used, that would be directly related to performance of services for benefit of the company. So that would be allowable, but it wouldn't be allowable for a partner who wasn't working day to day and who hadn't previously been receiving reimbursement for performance of services. Okay, item number 3. You cannot use it to repay stockholder or principal loans, except when the funds were injected as a result of this disaster. So what that means is, if you had a loan prior to February 1st, that was a personal loan, not a business loan, but it was a personal loan, you can't use these funds to pay off your personal loan unless you got a loan because of the COVID personally to assist with paying business expenses. Okay, so you want to just make sure the documentation is clear as to the time frame of when that personal loan was received for the business to pay business expenses. And if you're not clear, just send us the email and we can clarify that for you. You cannot use it for expansion of facilities or acquisition of fixed assets. That means you can't go buy a building, and you can't use it to expand your current facility. You want to make sure this is a big no-no. So don't go buying any buildings with it or expanding the facilities. All right, so the next thing, all right, you cannot use it to repair or replace physical damages. So that wouldn't apply too much for COVID-19. That would apply if for some reason, like if it was a disaster and it was a tornado, this type of loan wouldn't suffice for that. So item 5 really doesn't apply too much with the COVID-19. But the repairing part, you can't use this loan to pay for repairs of physical damages. Next thing, you can't refinance, you can't use it to pay for refinancing of long-term debt. Item 7, you cannot use it to pay down federal loans unless it is the IRS. So if you had previously had an SBA loan, you can't receive another SBA loan, which would be this EDIL loan. Say you got $200,000 and you had a previous SBA loan for $100,000. You couldn't take the money they gave you, the $250,000, and take a portion of it and pay off the $100,000. To SBA, you can't do that, or to any other federal agency except for the IRS. The IRS is the only exception. So you could use this money to pay off any IRS obligations. All right, so the next thing, let's see, next item here. Now, so just kind of think about things from a normal perspective of what you if you were in operations, what would you use the money for? And that's kind of a good baseline to determine if you can use the money that they gave you to pay. But the key is make sure you have a separate account. All right. These other items don't really apply from a federal perspective, so we're going to skip over those. Item 9, you cannot use this money to pay for contractor malfeasance. So if you are a federal contractor and you've been dinged for not performing, and you have to repay, you can't use those funds to repay. And more importantly, you cannot use this money to relocate. So if you're moving, you can't use this money to do any types of moves. All right, so I hope this is useful for you. So we cover what you can, what you can't use it for. Now I just want to reiterate. Please go get a separate business bank account. Do not mix this with your regular bank account, because as you know, as a business owner, you got all this stuff coming in, coming out, and you don't know what's accountable, what you used it for. It's already difficult enough. So this will help you. If you have a separate bank account, you'll have a better handle on what you used it for. Now, bank statements are great, but they are going to require detailed documentation. So you want to make sure you are starting a folder now with all of this information. You have to have proper record keeping. And this isn't just you doing your own bookkeeping. SBA is going to require an accountant's report from an accountant. So if you don't have bookkeeping, this is definitely the time to get it. And you can use that money to pay for bookkeeping, standard operating expenses. Your expenses, of course, must be ordinary, necessary, and reasonable. And again, please don't commingle funds. That's one thing you want to make sure you are not doing. Okay. All right. So in part 2 of this, I'm not going to keep you long, but in part 2, we'll be covering record keeping. And if you are an entity that is an S Corp or a C Corp, as the board of directors will tell you about the paperwork you're going to need to send in once you do receive your funds. Okay. All right. So just the key takeaways: partner with a tax professional. If you don't know one, I know a good one. Our firm has plenty tax professionals who can assist you. Ask questions when considering advice. Don't take advice from someone who is not in this field, because you'll find yourself in trouble. And believe me, this is the biggest transfer of wealth that is happening in this country, where business owners are being helped. So please take advantage of it and do the right thing. Don't commingle personal and business funds. I know I talk about that all the time, and just make sure your expenses are necessary, ordinary, and reasonable. Okay. All right. So again, my name is Angela Floyd. I hope this is useful to you. Some other administrative things I just want to remind you of. So you're probably wondering what's next. So at this point, you probably may have gotten your grant money. At the beginning, they were saying, oh, it was going to be $10,000 for everybody. So rules started changing, laws started changing overnight. And so right now, as of today, today is the 30th of April, if I'm not mistaken. They are only paying $1,000 per employee with a cap of $10,000 for free grant money for the EDIL loan. So that money is free money, whether you're approved or not. So once you get that, you can kind of rest assured you're in the pipeline. Another indicator is if you get a credit check from Experian by the U.S. government, you're pretty close as well. Once you get that credit pull, you should get an email within a couple days and log into that email quick because it's going to tell you what you are approved for. There'll be a little slider bar. It'll tell you your max amount. You don't have to take it all. You can take only what you want to take. So they may say, okay, you're approved for 100,000. That 100,000, the rate is 3.75%, and you pay it back over 30 years for the EDIL loan. And I think it's 24 months for the PPP loan. I'm not sure, don't quote me on that. I'm going off of memory. But you will get a terms sheet that will tell you what your payment schedule will be. But just hang in there. Hopefully it's coming and you started a while back. But be safe. Call us if you need us. And thank you for choosing Intelligent Tax Solution. And if you don't know us, get in contact with us. We'll be more than happy to help you. Be safe, everybody. Thank you. Bye.